Hi, and thank you so much for joining me today for Elle Studio Sunday. This is a collaboration I do every Sunday with my lovely friend Scrappy Adam, and on each Sunday we focus on some Elle Studio products. So this week's focus is Elle Studio dies, and I'm going to focus on the tag dies that you will have seen at the beginning of this video. First of all, though, I want to work on my background, which is what I tend to do. So I'm using some of the beautiful shimmers paints, and this is in Inklings, to create a background for my cut file that you will have seen at the beginning. That's one of Amelia Creates cut files, and it says Advent Calendar because the photo I'm documenting of is the Advent calendars that Leanne and I used to make for the kids when they were younger each year, just putting in sweets and stationery and things and creating their own personalised Advent calendars. That was great fun. So just going in with this green to start with, I think it's Olive Branch Inklings, and then I shall go in with the burnish buckle afterwards just to add a bit of that bronzy colour. Just slowly building up the pigment using some water and the inkling. And I keep coming back with this Advent calendar title because I want to check that I've put enough on there to cover it nicely. So here I am with that burnish buckle, just bringing in some of the bronzy tones, as I say. And to the right, you can see the papers that I've pulled out are from the Simple Stories Mix and a Mingle collection. It's the 6x8 paper pad, and I've just chosen some of the reds and greens from that to go with this. So just about there now with that mixed media, and then I shall pop it to one side to leave it to dry while I work on the cut file. So here we go, just popping the lids back on so I don't have any mishaps with those paints, and then moving that to the side. So here's that lovely cut file that Amelia has created, and just going to colour the baubles by backing the baubles with these papers. So just having a look to see which ones I want to use, and I start with this red dotty one, and I'm just drawing round the bauble, and then I'll cut just inside the lines. In fact, on this one I go a bit too far inside the lines and it only just fits, but I make it work, thank goodness. It's only a small area to cover, but if you watch, it's like a spiral. It just gets smaller and smaller, and then when I pop it on I think, oh heck. But just about, with a bit of angling, make it work, and then I come in with my wet glue and just stick it down. Try not to move too much. And you can see there it's very close, but it looks fine from the front, so that's the important bit, hey? So just, as I say, checking, and of course I've got glue all over the desk. And now this oval shaped one, I'm coming in with the dark green, doing exactly the same thing, just drawing round, cutting out and then gluing it. And I'm more careful with this one, and it's a much better result, thank goodness. You can see, just have to cut a bit off that top, and realise that I've left a bit of the paper stuck in there, so just pulling that out and then adding the glue and sticking that down. I'm feeling more and more festive as the days go on. We're still in November, but seeing all the Christmas stuff around is making me feel much more excited about Christmas coming. Are you all ready? Have you started scrapping Christmas again? I definitely am a seasonal scrapper. I've realised that. I've sort of left autumn behind me now, and working on Christmas past. Looking forward to starting my document December as well. It'll be the first year that I've done that, so let me know, would you be interested in seeing my pages? I'm going to be doing 6x8 pages, and I'm going to try and do them daily, but we'll have to see. And I was saying to some friends, it's definitely going to be more of a gratitude album, because I really don't do an awful lot. You know, I'm still working, still running Hey Little Magpie through December. So it might just be a snapshot of my coffee or my lunch, or it won't always be fantastic days out and things like that. But it'll be nice to have a document of what I've done throughout December, and just looking for happiness in every day, whether that's my coffee or finishing work early or whatever it may be. So here I am bringing in my Cuttlebug, which is my portable die cutting machine, and I'm just going to cut some of these tags. I won't bore you, make you watch all of them. I'll just show you a few, and then we'll cut through to the end. So these dies are fantastic. You just snip them apart, and they come with a little tag to cover the tag hole as well. Now this one you can see I cut a bit wonky, so when I use that on the layout you'll see I have to just trim the edge a bit, but that's easy enough to do. So just working my way through all these different papers with all the different size tags. I managed to drop the two little bits there that create the tag hole cover. And just pop this through again, and then I think I'll fade out. I won't, like I say, I won't make you watch everything. But going back to document December, do let me know in the comments if you'd like to see those layouts each day, or if it's just not something you're interested in. I've not decided yet whether it's something I'm going to share on here or just do privately. So there's the title back again, and I just want to colour in some of the leaves on the left and right hand side of the actual title. So coming in with one of the shimmers paints in a beautiful Christmassy green, and this one's called Green Olive. With the shimmers you have to make sure you give them a good stir to bring all the pigments and shimmers to the surface. They're very pigmented though, and it little goes an awful long way. You'll see this covers both the leaves just from one dip in with the paintbrush. And I'm just looking at my shimmers now, and the colour that I used for the background right at the beginning of the video was a creamies, and it's called Sage It Isn't So. So I was totally wrong with the name there, sorry about that. But this one's Green Olive and it's a shimmers, so the shimmers paints are already liquid, you don't have to add any water or anything. The creamies and inklings you do have to add some water to activate them, and they recommend that you do that at least 30 seconds before you want to use them, just to allow the paint to soften. But I'm a little bit impatient, so don't always do that, so then I have to rub my brush really hard in it to get some pigment to come up. So I'm just being careful here not to paint in the berries, because I'm going to cover those afterwards with a beautiful red. And the red I've chosen is another shimmers paint, and it's Buddy's favourite colour, so very seasonal, definitely one that's been created for Christmas. But they do have one called Wed Wagon, which would also work really nicely. They've got a few reds actually in the shimmers paints, and they all look glorious. I'm sure they will find their way into my collection at some point. But you can see how much paint was still on my brush by the colour of the water. So this is that Buddy's favourite colour, and just giving it a good stir before I go in and paint those berries. How gorgeous is that? So just the 3 berries on each side. And I really like how that looks, and it's going to be positioned over the other shimmers paints like that. So just checking the positioning. The paint's not quite dry yet, so I don't want to put it down just yet. And now the piece that the video is all about, the tag dies. So I decided that I'm going to create a mat using these tags underneath my photo, and it does take me a little while to work out the positioning of all the tags before I'm finally happy. At first I think I want to leave the bigger one out to the right hand side as they are here, so that I can add my journaling. But the more I add, the less happy I am with how it's turning out, and I just can't work it out. So in a minute you'll see I just pull everything apart and start again, and then it all suddenly falls into place. It's always the way, isn't it? You fiddle and faff and you just can't see the direction you're going in, and then suddenly you're there. And those are all the little tag hole covers you can see at the top right that I should be covering the tag holes with after. Once I've got the tags in place and I'm happy, I can add those afterwards. So you can see I'm just messing about, trying to work out what on earth I'm going to do. And I really don't like this at all. So still trying, hoping that if I add something else it might work. Moving things around. And you know, when you feel like everything's either the same size as the piece you're putting it next to, or the same colour as the piece you're putting it next to, and it doesn't work. I was getting really frustrated by this point, because you have an idea in your head and then it just doesn't seem to work, and you can't really see why it's not working, because it seems such an obvious idea. It's around about this point that I pull, yep, there we go, start again. And now I'm just going to build in 3s. I find that 3s in 3 different sizes work really well for me. And just having that starter point there made me suddenly realise what I needed to do. So that was just a scrap of paper I had at the end, so I cut the top of a tag out because I thought I'd be able to tuck that in somewhere, and sure enough, there it went. And then look at how quickly this is all coming together now. It's suddenly making sense. So just tucking a few more in, and then I'm ready to start gluing. So Ellie's Studio dies are as good as the stamps, you know, they're really easy to work with. They're cut very cleanly, I've never had an issue. I haven't got loads of her dies, but the ones that I do have are absolutely superb. I've got my eye on the star set because stars are so difficult to cut by hand. Having a die would be much better. So here we are now. I'm just about ready. You can see I've got my glue ready and in position to start gluing everything down. And this is the tag I was talking about where I'd cut it slightly wonky on the machine. The paper had moved as I was putting it under the mat. So just checking that everything seems to be straight. And here we go, here's the glue. And I don't want to move anything if I can help it, so I'm just peeling them up one by one and adding a dab of glue just to keep them in position. I won't add the photo yet, it's just making sure that this mat is all together, and then I can get the photo straight at the end. But these colours work beautifully together, don't they? And they work with the packages that are in the two baskets. So we'll put these out on the 30th of November, ready for the kids to come down to in the morning, and they were so happy. And we just stapled numbers on tags to each of the bags, so they had to find the relevant number each morning. And as I say, it was just sweets, stationery, chocolates, just bits and pieces that we found. I think we even put some coins in some of them to give them a bit of money. It was just great fun. It didn't cost an awful lot, and they really, really enjoyed it. So here we go. Now I'm going to come in with all these hole reinforcers, I suppose they're called, aren't they? But it's just really nice to add that different colour and a bit of difference to them. And they do have a right and wrong way up. You can see I've put that one the wrong way up, but I glue it down the right way. But look at what a difference that makes. So again, I won't make you watch me sticking all of this down. I'll fast forward, see again, upside down. And they're all done now. So now they're done, I can look at sticking the photo down, but first of all I want to add some tissue paper underneath it just to give a bit of definition between the photo and the tags. I felt that it sort of blended in a little bit too much if I hadn't have done this, so just trimming that down. You only need a tiny bit of the tissue showing, it's just to provide a border really. And then that can be stuck down onto the layout. First of all, sticking this onto the mat, and then it will go onto the layout. Just checking, of course, that it's straight with my T-ruler. And here we go. So now deciding where to put it. Bring the title in, and those baubles do hang quite far down, so I decide that it's best placed on the right hand side there. And then I wanted to bring something in on the left hand side just to fill in that big white space. So I bring this tag in, and that has a dual purpose. It fills in that space nicely, and it also acts as a journaling tag. So now just using my wet glue to glue this title into place, and using my T-ruler as a guide to see roughly where it's going to go. Obviously the letters are up and down, but I still want to make sure it's straight, so just moving it a little bit and making sure. And the card is a bit warped because of that water that I put on at the beginning, but I'll just put it underneath something heavy overnight and it'll straighten out. So there we go, that's stuck down. So now I need to move back onto the tags, add that tag on the left hand side, and then stick down the main photo mat. Again, using the T-ruler just to make sure that it's all square. And here I am with the main photo mat, just a load of wet glue on this to get it down. And then I need to decide what to do with all those tag holes, the naked tag holes. So first of all, trimming off that excess from that tag there. And then having a look at the ephemera pieces from the, I think this is the Mix and a Mingle ephemera pack as well. Yes, Mix and a Mingle. I just want to add a few little bits. At first I'm thinking of doing a column down the left hand side underneath that tag. So I start pulling bits and pieces out. But I quickly realise it's not quite right because it's an advent calendar, none of the bits quite fit for me. So I reconsider. And in the end I do keep that Christmas title because I like that, and it adds something and it sort of joins the two bits together like that. And that little green heart, star there also makes its way on, just to add a bit of something. And see how that just ties the two groups together nicely at the bottom there. I think it provides a really nice balance. So now, as I say, turning my attention to those naked tag holes, and I'm using my wax thread in a green and red, and I'm going to thread through the first tag and then go all the way around with the same thread to the other side, so it almost joins them up in one continual loop. So it takes me a little while to work out how to do this. I loop this one round at first, but then I'm not happy with it, so I think I undo a little bit. Yeah, I undo a bit on that start, that first tag, I think. Maybe not, and just keep going through the back of the tags, pulling it through and onto the next one and looping round as I go. And this string really creates a nice feature on the layout. Again, just tying everything together, just looping through, making sure that I leave enough slack as I go through, and hoping and praying that I've got enough thread because it's surprising how much it actually takes when you're doing something like this. And just trying to work out which one to go through next, but try not to overthink it, just working my way around, going through each of the holes. And I think it's at this point where I'm thinking, oh gosh, is there actually enough thread here? I have a little fiddle there because I wasn't quite happy with that loop. I felt it was too big. And I think it's just as well I did, because there wasn't much left at the end. So then what to do with the ends, and I decided best to tuck them under here and then just find some ephemera pieces to cover that corner up with. So first of all, this gold snowflake, then I get one of James's JD 3D print snowflakes, and these are new to Hey Little Magpie and our Etsy shop. I'll link them down below. They're gorgeous. Of course, I'm biased, it's my son, but they really are a lovely little thing to add to your layouts, and very light as well, so they don't add too much weight. And now just a little bit more of the thread to add to that tag at the top. And again, not quite sure how I'm going to finish this off, so I just loop it through at first and then realise that tucking it down and trying to connect it to the other group isn't going to work, nor is this tucking it in here. So I decide on a bow. And in fact, I take the red out and just use the green because I don't want it to be too heavy up there. So you'll see here now I'm just pulling the red out and then just make a bow with this green. And I'll just snip off the edges and then add some adhesive to the knot just to make sure that it stays together and doesn't try and undo when it's in the page protector. So of course I've done that, and now I want to come in with my tea ruler to draw some guidelines for my journaling. just fiddling about here a little bit because I didn't like the big loop on that piece. So just again, a tiny bit of adhesive just to hold it in place. And then, as I say, coming in with my tea ruler, but not able to put it over that glue, so I just have to do it by eye. I think I've become a bit obsessed with making sure everything's absolutely straight, so it probably did me no harm to just draw it by eye because it looks fine now it's done. And the journaling, quick layout here, journaling just reads, Leanne and I love putting these advent calendars together for the kids, full of stationery, sweets and treats. They really enjoyed them. So just adding another little snowflake to the bottom bit there, and then the date, bottom right hand corner, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Please check the description box down below and I'll link Adam's channel. I can't wait to see what he does this week with the dies, and I shall see you again very soon. Thank you so much. Bye.